If a single missile struck an obscure, quiet town in the Netherlands tomorrow, the modern world would effectively end. No new iPhones, no advanced military AI, no high-speed data clouds. Within months, the entire global tech economy would freeze in its tracks, triggering a multi-trillion-dollar economic collapse. This isn't the plot of a sci-fi thriller. It is a terrifyingly real geopolitical vulnerability, and it revolves around a single company you've likely never heard of, ASML. We are told that tech giants like Apple, Nvidia, and TSMC run the world, but the truth is they are just tenants. ASML is the landlord. They hold an absolute 100% global monopoly on the one machine required to build the future. A machine that costs $350 million, requires 3 cargo jets to ship, and defies the laws of physics. Welcome to the Monopoly Blueprint. Today, we decode how a single company built a choke point so powerful that the world's greatest superpowers are willing to go to war just to get on their waiting list. To understand how ASML trapped the entire world, you have to understand the brutal rule of the tech industry. Get smaller or die. Every year, tech companies have to cram more brain power into your phone to make it faster. To do this, they use lasers to print microscopic circuits onto silicon. Think of it like drawing. For decades, companies used standard lasers, but by the year 2000, those lasers hit a wall. They were too thick. Trying to make a modern smartphone chip with those old lasers was like trying to write a tiny text message using a giant bleeding Sharpie marker. It was physically impossible. The entire tech world was panicking. The only solution was a mythical type of light called EUV. It's a laser wave so insanely thin it can draw lines smaller than a strand of human DNA. But there was a massive problem. EUV light is an absolute diva. It's so sensitive that it literally gets absorbed by air. If it touches normal glass lenses, it vanishes. Back then, 2 Japanese tech giants, Nikon and Canon, ruled the market. They looked at EUV, looked at the insane science required to make it work, and said, absolutely not. This is a suicide mission. They folded their cards, walked away, and decided to play it safe with older tech. And right there is where ASML made the craziest gamble in business history. While the billionaires at Nikon and Canon ran away, ASML, who was a total nobody at the time, went completely all in. For 20 straight years, they took every dollar they made and threw it into a furnace to figure out EUV. Wall Street called them crazy. They almost went broke multiple times. They spent 2 decades burning billions with zero proof it would ever work. But they didn't stop. To make the light bounce, they had to build mirrors so insanely flat that if you stretch them to the size of the United States, the biggest bump on the mirror would be the height of a ladybug. To get the laser stream, they had to shoot tiny drops of melting metal with a laser 50,000 times a second. It wasn't just coding anymore, it was mad science. Fast forward to today, ASML's insane gamble paid off. They solved the impossible. They built the machine. And because Nikon and Canon quit 20 years ago, ASML is now the only company on Earth that can do this. If you want to build a smartphone, an AI supercomputer, or a modern missile, you have to buy their machine. There is no alternative. Right now, you're probably thinking, if this machine is such a gold mine, why doesn't a country like China or a giant like Samsung just buy one, rip it apart, and copy it? They have hundreds of billions of dollars. Surely they can just reverse engineer it, right? Wrong. And this is where ASML's business genius turns into an absolute horror movie for their competitors. You see, ASML doesn't actually build most of this machine. They are the ultimate coordinators. The machine has over 100,000 parts, and those parts come from the most specialized, gate-kept factories on the planet. Take the mirrors, for example. To reflect that hypersensitive EUV light, ASML needed the most precise glass mirrors in human history. There is only one company in the world that can make them, a legendary German optics company called Zeiss. If you want these mirrors, Zeiss is your only option. ASML knew that if a competitor like Nikon went to Zeiss, the monopoly would die. So they made a ruthless chess move. They didn't just buy mirrors, they bought a massive 25% financial stake in Zeiss itself. They poured billions into Zeiss's factories and locked them into an exclusive, unbreakable contract. Essentially, Zeiss is married to ASML. If you aren't ASML, Zeiss won't even take your phone call. They did the exact same thing across their entire supply chain. The hyper-advanced lasers needed for the machine were made by an American company called Cymer. What did ASML do? They didn't risk a contract. They just bought the entire company for $2 billion. They systematically locked down every single critical component supplier on Earth. This means even if you have $100 billion cash in a suitcase, you literally cannot buy the parts to build a copy of an ASML machine. ASML owns the only stores that sell them. Copying an ASML machine isn't like copying an iPhone. It's like trying to build a space shuttle in your garage when someone else owns every piece of titanium on the planet. By weaponizing their suppliers, ASML built the ultimate corporate moat. They didn't just win the race to build the machine, they legally locked the stadium doors so no one else could even get onto the track. When you build a corporate moat that powerful, you stop being just a tech company. You become a weapon. And right now, ASML is the absolute centerpiece of the biggest geopolitical geopolitical chess match on planet Earth. For the last few years, China has been on a relentless mission to completely dominate global technology. But there's a massive roadblock in their way. They can't build the most advanced AI chips without ASML's machines. So China did what any superpower would do. They pulled out their checkbook and tried to order them. But Washington panicked. The US government realized that if China got their hands on ASML's latest machines, they could supercharge their military AI and dominate the future of warfare. So the US stepped in. They put immense pressure on the Dutch government, effectively telling them, do not let those machines ship to China. The result? The Dutch government bowed to the pressure and revoked ASML's export licenses for their most advanced machines heading to Chinese factories. ASML literally had to cancel billions of dollars in orders. Imagine being China. You are a global superpower with trillions of dollars, a massive military, and the world's largest manufacturing industry, and your entire technological future is currently being gatekept by a single quiet company in a small Dutch town. It drives them absolutely insane. And the gap is only widening. ASML just dropped their newest weapon, the high-end AEUV machine. It's the size of a house, costs over $380 million, and allows companies to draw lines so small they can fit hundreds of billions of transistors on a single coin. And guess who got the very first orders? Intel and TSMC. China wasn't even allowed on the waiting list. This isn't just a trade war over smartphones or social media apps. This is a battle for total global dominance. And the entire outcome depends entirely on who controls the order book of a single company in Veldhoven. ASML didn't build the world's most unkillable monopoly by accident. They followed a brutal, flawless playbook. First, they took a multi-billion-dollar gamble on a technology their competitors called impossible. Second, they didn't just build a product, they legally weaponized their own supply chain to lock everyone else out. And finally, they became so irreplaceable that the world's greatest superpowers have no choice but to play by their rules. That is the ultimate monopoly blueprint. It's the realization that the most profitable position in business isn't being the loudest brand on the market. It's becoming the single invisible foundation that the entire market relies on to survive. But capturing a monopoly through physics and heavy machinery is just one way to run the world. There is an entirely different playbook, one where you don't control the world's tech, but you control the world's ego. In our next blueprint breakdown, we decode how one quiet French billionaire systematically bought up fading fashion houses and turned basic craftsmanship into a hyper-scaled luxury monopoly that forced the global elite to hand him his fortune. Subscribe to step inside the next blueprint, and we'll see you in the archive.